Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Jack White. So, Jack, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Hey, everyone. First, thank you, Dan, for having me on and inviting me. My name is Jack White, and I'm an email marketer. I've been running an email marketing agency for DTC e-com brands for the last 4 or so years. We help brands that sell on Shopify specifically, and we scale their email marketing up by sending more campaigns, using automations, and kind of narrowing down their audience to make sure they're sending the right people, not spamming people. We've been in this game for a minute, and now I just hopped on Instagram to kind of share what I've learned over the last 4 years, give out my strategy. And Dan was nice enough to invite me onto the podcast and gave me a little bit more of a space to share what I've learned. Whether you're like a new entrepreneur or you're an e-commerce guy or an email guy or gal, maybe you'll learn something new today, and hopefully I'm helpful. This is the first podcast that I've ever done. So if I'm a little new about it, I'm really an email guy. I'm not a crazy content guy, you know?
For sure. Well, it's an honor to have you on. And so, obviously, email marketing has been around for a while. It's changed. I feel like it always changes, even throughout the year or so. What kind of made you want to get into it? Way back when, 4 years ago.
I think it was like really a matter of how the tree fell because I mean, if we go all the way back to just getting into online business, and before that, I started with like video games, video editing, etc. Hop it on Fiverr, seeing the Ty Lopez ads. But one thing always remained consistent is I was always good at writing, whether it was like in school, and I stumbled into copywriting and got my hands on kind of everything that I could write. And when I was in college, I got my first client doing some writing work. Now, the way the trees fell is that the most functional way for me as a writer to make money was to make other people money with my writing, hence the copy. But copywriting is a very, very general term, and you could be writing ads, sales pages, emails, video scripts, whatever it might be. And well, with that being said, the best way, most accessible way was through email marketing for these online brands. Also, I had been trying like e-commerce and drop shipping for a while, and I kind of had my eyes on that space. I had my eyes on that space, and so the email marketing side of it just made a lot of sense. I also happened to run into who's now my business partner right now. And he was really good at meeting people and working, and I was really good at writing and making them a lot of money. So it was kind of a match made in heaven when I had just dropped out of college and I was still in Arizona doing my thing. And now we're here, honestly. I started when I was in Arizona in a shitty little apartment. And 4 years later, I've been able to move to, decent apartment. I live with my girlfriend, moved to Boston, and, all of the et ceteras that come with starting an online business. I don't have a Lamborghini or anything, but, if I were to go and meet Jack when he was 18 and be like, this is where this will take you, he'd be pretty proud of where it goes because I don't know, back then there's never any guarantees, but it gets dark sometimes in the beginnings
Sure.
when you really don't have the confidence to go do something. And well, again, that's why I'm on Instagram and trying to grow my personal brand now is because I know I'm the best at what I do when it comes to email marketing. At least I have that conviction in myself. And that's kind of where we're at right now, trying to work with bigger brands and honing our systems in to kind of fill that process. I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and they're an ecom brand, but really what they are is a manufacturing thing, a manufacturing company. And
Right.
that's where all their biggest loopholes and like hurdles are with their business. And that's kind of the thing that we've ran into as far as scaling like creative output, while also scaling client input. And that's kind of the goal for kind of 2025 is really build our machine out so that we can 100% of the time just bring on a client and not have to worry about resources as far as design output, etc.
Amazing. Yeah. So, in terms of email marketing, right? Like, do you use Klaviyo or like a certain platform? What does that look like?
Oh yeah, so we use Klaviyo. I'm a Klaviyo boy. I know maybe some people listening got their own email marketing platform that they like. OmniSend, there's SendLane, there's a bunch of them out there, and they're all different sides of the same coin. But Klaviyo is kind of where I've been the last 4 years, and what I built my entire system around. So we use everything in there from pop-ups to segmentation to campaign sending, and they just have a grasp on things and a level of customer support that is just hard to find elsewhere. If I ever have an issue, their live chat is really helpful 99% of the time. And I get to go, and if it doesn't work, they'll escalate it to their people. And I've never really ran into an issue that they wouldn't help me fix, which I've really enjoyed because everyone really wants to be the guy that knows everything. I don't know everything. I'm not a developer. I'm
Right.
not paid ads genius. I know people really well and I understand what gets them to come back to your business. And I'm an email marketer. So being able to contact different levels of support and get that assistance on the technical shit is super important to me.
For
Um,
sure. So I'm curious in terms of, D2C email marketing, right? Because you've been doing this for some time, but what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people make that you can kind of go in and just like some easy wins for people when you start working with them?
So first and foremost, you probably saw it on my story yesterday, but just frequency of emails, right? I think most brands, like the 90% of brands and stores out there, can send more emails, and they misunderstand what spam is. And they overcompensate for what they think an email should be. Where most emails, you shouldn't spend more than 10 or 15 minutes reviewing or making an email. Like at most, maybe like 45 minutes if it's a really like big email or something like
Right.
that requires maybe more design. But showing up with your email is way more important than your email being pretty or super, super helpful. And instead of being like valuable, I would say try to be just like 10% helpful every time. A couple tips, tricks, CTA, and get them into that next step. Because email is just a vehicle to get them to either a landing page, product page, opt in, a PCR content, whatever it is. For the most part, an email shouldn't be a novel or the Mona Lisa. But brands get caught up in this and they end up sending, 4 or 5 emails a month. And then they rely on their automations, which is the next problem, is they rely on their automations for that email revenue. But I go into their email, like their email flows, and it's one email long. There's zero offering, and the structure of it isn't very clean. So you can't collect any data, right? All of this stems back to kind of frequency and spending too much time on an individual email, looking down at their feet instead of looking the horizon, which is where data analysis, making high level moves, and staying ahead can really impact your business from the back all the way to the front, ranging from just marketing calendar stuff to how you market to those cold people or how you retarget to previous customers. That's where it gets really, really important. But I find with a lot of brands that they're focused on the wrong thing. And so I guess my one core recommendation is that whether you are looking at hiring an email marketing professional, right, is you aren't hiring a graphic design agency. You aren't hiring a creative agency. If you want to do that and you want to get unlimited revisions and you want to have the Mona Lisa of all your emails, that's great. But you're going to sacrifice results because there's a correlation to number of revisions and time spent on an email and results. Typically, the best people that I work with let us take full responsibility of the results. So their creative comments, the best ones are maybe change a word here, change a word there, or they just hate the email completely and they want us to pivot around. But don't treat your email agency like creative agency because they aren't. They're an email agency and they're meant to
Right.
make you more money. At least that's my goal when I work with people is I want to make them more money, even if the emails maybe don't look like an art piece.
Do you just do email or do you also do SMS?
I mean, SMS is just like another leg off of email. Sometimes we'll just throw it in and do it, and like we'll send some campaigns, but it's not something that I focus on really at any extent. There's been like maybe one out of like 15 brands that we've worked on, or like one every 15 brands that we work on, maybe might ask us to send a campaign or two to their SMS list.
Right,
But
right.
I would never charge someone for consulting on SMS stuff. I just wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Right. So obviously, like you mentioned, right, you've been doing this for 4 years, and And you told me like before we chatted that you used to be like on Twitter, that you got off of it, a couple of years ago. So I guess like as of today, right, that you just joined Instagram, but I guess besides that, like what has been the best way that you've actually scaled this business? Like how have you gotten like about, getting new clients?
Personally, it's just referrals, and my business partner does a lot of networking. So he ends up going to a lot of events and stuff and getting referrals through that, networking, meeting people, and really just giving them the vision in person. We don't have any marketing set up as far as cold email or paid ads. And frankly, the ads that I'm going to be running to my page and the way that I'm going to be building my personal brand, part of the goal there is to become an authority figure in this space because again, I spent the last 4 years not even trying to get clients and selling them. That's not my job. I'm an email marketer. Like my job the last 4 years was make brands a fuck ton of money. That was the entire gig. And now I'm hopping into Instagram to show that and really prove to everyone else that I'm worth talking to so that we don't have to rely on networking or referrals to get people through the door, which
Right.
has been good. It's cool to say that we don't have any paid marketing or anything
Right,
out
right.
there. But if we really want to scale up and hit those kind of record months that we want to hit, being an authority figure in the space is going to be super important. So when someone comes in and immediately needs to trust me with what I know. And that's part of the goal. Maybe this is some stuff that guys wouldn't share on a podcast. I don't know, but no, my goal is to be that guy in the email marketing space.
For
Right now,
sure.
there's Chase Diamond. He's the GOAT. Nick Shackelford, he's awesome. There's Well Copy Max. He's been absolutely killing it. I feel like every time he posts, he's reading my brain. And then there's Rayness, and I don't even know if he's still on Instagram. But those are like the four guys that dominate the email space. And then there's like 12 million other email marketers out there, but no one's really an authority like those guys. And, that means there's room for me to go up there. And
100%. Yeah.
that's
So,
that's my goal here.
so when you say that you've kind of grown from networking events, is it more of just like local within your area, or is it like conferences? Like, what does that look like?
So there's a lot of like private DTC dinners ranging from stuff given by PE firms to other e-com founders that host these dinners. And that's where we kind of make the best connections. And we're able to make those personal connections that you just won't be able to do on a cold email, When
Right, right,
you're having dinner with someone, that's kind of where you go. And I think a big part of it too is give it all away for free, man. Like, I think Alex Hermosi is the guy that I heard it from first. Is just like, give it all away for free. If someone wants help with their stuff and they want to hop on a call, I'm not gonna immediately try to rip their Stripe account for 10 grand, right? Like, we want to be able to give value and be helpful to anyone
right,
that you can with like the philosophy in mind that if you help and you do the right things, people will come back. And that works in really wonderful ways where, for example, this company I work with and I'm now a growth partner of, Tavo Sleep, the founder of that was hitting me up 2 years ago asking about email marketing stuff. And I just send him back what I think. And then in April of 2024, crazy enough, he hit me up and wanted to actually work together. And he brought me on as a growth partner. And well, we've done over six figures in sales since that.
amazing.
Because I've been able to come in and give my 4 years of experience and the bird's eye view that I've had on all these brands, which I think is the most important part of my experience actually, is
Right,
just
right,
the sheer quantity of brands I've worked on. I get to
right,
see all of these super cool marketing strategies that both work and don't work. I've seen a lot of brands scale up and be really crazy, but most brands just after a couple of years, they shit the bed. And
right,
so that's probably where most of my the best experience comes from is being able to help and coming into Tavo and doing that was one, just me being helpful for like a year and a half straight with not asking really for anything, right?
right.
And now we're working together. I got a call a week with the founder and another call with their team, and I'm able to actually contribute at a greater scale than just email. So that's kind of the recommendation I would give to anyone is just if you're going to go the networking route, shoot your DMs out, ask people out to dinner, and if you have cool ideas, send them a message. Like send them your ideas without expecting something in return. Eventually, shit comes around. What goes around comes around. That's very true.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you could go back in time to before you got started, like what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
I wish I just knew what actual work was back then. I mean, I'm not even embarrassed to say this, but like when I was just getting the ball rolling and I was kind of bouncing around, shiny object syndrome, it's very easy to think you're working, when you're not. It's you think you're moving the needle, but what's the revenue coming through the door, right? And I remember when I dropped out of college, I had the fortunate situation where my dad's job was going to pay for my school. So I used that opportunity to get far as hell away from home, go to Arizona and do my thing. But he called me in the spring semester of my freshman year and said he got fired. I didn't want to be there, but I was taking the fortunate opportunity that I had to go try it out. And so, with that being said, I wish I just had moved a little bit differently on what work was. I guess the activities that like ranging of ROI would have been different. But like, hindsight's 2020, right? So
Right.
personally, I think a lot of this stuff, that's my journey. That's what it was. If I needed to run through a wall to realize the wall was hard, that's what had to happen, honestly. So
Right.
I really don't like looking back at what I could have done differently because well, I
Right.
can't,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Um,
So yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's always one of those things. Like you wouldn't have been where you're at today if you hadn't done things that way. So, I guess just looking ahead, right? So if we're gonna have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for your business?
well, I think it's a special, like specifically like an offering difference. One big thing that we've been working on is narrowing down our offering for the brands we work with to make that better. Better for them, better for us, and then adding some offers that will open doors for brands that wouldn't work for us. So, for example, the done for you agency model, odds are none of the people watching here, their brands would qualify for that in my eyes, right? But done with you services and teaching teams how to do retention marketing internally is something I'm super interested in. And that's a new offer that I'm working on where I can come in and for these brands that don't need an entire agency to do all this stuff, and they may have a graphic designer that they really trust with their paid ads or whatever. If you have a brand and you have a graphic designer and you know how to write copy, I could teach you how to redo your entire retention marketing system and generate a lot of money. You don't need a whole agency most of the time. These
Right.
enterprise brands really need an agency because we're saving time and attention and giving that back to them. But these smaller brands that's like a single founder, a graphic designer, a video editor, maybe a co-founder, those guys don't need an agency. In
Right.
reality, they should just hire a professional to teach their internal team to build out their email marketing. And I think that'll save, if you're chipping out 2,500 bucks a month to a freelancer or agency for an entire year, that's 30 grand a year that you're just dishing out to a freelancer for subpar results most of the time. At least that's what I witnessed. Maybe you got a really cool freelancer that's just absolutely killing it. But a lot of brands are just dishing out that kind of money to make single digit percentages of their revenue from email. Example, hey, a brand that came on in December had been paying this guy 2,500 bucks a month for 6 months, and they were doing 9% of their revenue from email. It's like, what the hell is that? They're paying 30K a year for someone to make 9% of their revenue from email. On average, we've made 32% of our clients' revenue from email. So, like, I'm sure you guys can do the math when you're listening, is like, why spend 30K when you could spend substantially less with the coaching offer and really learn the ins and outs of
Right.
email marketing? And that's kind of what I want to do this year
Amazing.
is make the done for you stuff is going to be way more exclusive and the done with you stuff is going to be available to more people, allowing me to hopefully leave a bigger impact on more brands using less of my time.
Amazing. Awesome. So if somebody watching this wanted to work with you or wanted to reach out, do you mind sharing the best way to get in contact or your website, etc.?
Oh yeah, the best way right now to get in contact with me is just shoot me a DM. It's at Jack in the inbox on Instagram. I got a little blue avatar that looks like me. But shoot me a DM, and that's gonna be the easiest way. And if anything really more official goes down, you could shoot me an email. But I'm gonna be putting content out there for free. I really don't have anything on there that you could buy without talking to me first. So like unless you qualify for something and you're really looking for something and I can help you, I'm not going to ask you to hop on a call or pay me anything. There's no sense in that. So I'm just going to be posting on Instagram, posting on YouTube, longer form stuff. And I hope that resonates for a lot of you guys where you can take my strategies and adapt them to your own brand in your own store. I think these drop shipping guys would benefit sometimes even more than these bigger brands because they don't need or care a lot of the time about crazy designs. They just need output. And I'm hoping that we could provide that. There's so many guys out there selling Facebook ad stuff, but then, after you run Facebook ads for a while, you realize relying on Zuckerberg for 100% of your revenue sucks. And so this is why I was talking to a brand yesterday, actually, this CPG brand we work with. And it's like, I was explaining this concept to him that if you have your email marketing dialed in, I told him, I was like, dude, turn your ads off. And next week, when we run this 3-day promotion, I guarantee I'll make you $100,000.
Right.
Super cool that we can do that. But if you don't have that set up, if you haven't created a rapport with your email list, well, you turn your ads off, your brand doesn't exist anymore. It's not even a
Exactly.
brand. It's just an Instagram account with maybe some followers.
Exactly. Awesome. So yeah, if anybody watching that's interested in, learning more or, just follow Jack on Instagram. And Jack, it was a pleasure. Thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Dan. Let's talk again in a year.
Sounds great. Thank you.